The protest shouldn't be just only one policy. The protest should be a system change across Africa. If we are not going to demand a system change in Africa, all these protests is not going to solve the problems. Today, I want to touch the issues that has been happening in Kenya for some days now. I decided not to react to what is happening in Kenya. I decided to monitor the events and assess what exactly was happening in Kenya. And the main man in the center of this whole event is the Kenyan leader, William Ruto. William Ruto has been a man full of events. He has decided not to rest. He has decided to be in the news every time since he became president. It's an interesting event that has happening in Kenya. We send our condolence to those who has lost their life because of a peaceful demonstration or a peaceful protest that was not supposed to go that way. It is very sad because the people who were supposed to protect us are rather the ones that are killing us. It's very sad because those who promised to protect their country, who promised to implement policies that will make their citizens comfortable, are rather the ones that will clock the guns on their citizens when they need them most. Since this man became president, this man projected himself to be a man that listens. He projected himself to be a Pan-Africanist. He proposed African countries should rather have one currency that we can use to trade among ourselves. This man proposed that he will not step in any Asia-Africa summit, America-Africa summit, because he didn't see the needs of most African leaders going all the way to Asia to meet just one man. I reacted to a lot of his videos where he projected himself to be a Pan-Africanist. So a lot of us were asking questions. Is this man really genuine, or he's just pretending to get the love, or he's just doing that for the cameras? Many people were asking questions, especially me. I asked a lot of questions when he became president and he was making all that speech. But as times goes on, we started seeing the real person behind the face. We started getting news about him trying to send Kenyan citizens to Saudi Arabia to go and work there, which was a very lazy approach. You promise a country to come and provide jobs, to come and make the country better. Then you come to power and your only option is to send your citizens to another country to go and work for them so that you can get paid in your country and make a whole lot of money from Saudi Arabia. I didn't know how they were able to sit down to come into such agreements, but you and me knows the maltreatment most Africans go through in these Gulf countries. But this man decided that was one of his best policies that he can implement is to send his own citizens to Saudi Arabia to go and work. His second approach was to send military to Haiti. That was another approach that did not sit down well with many Africans. Now, we saw him traveling with most African leaders to go to summit in Asia, to go to summit in America, to go to summit in Europe, to go to summit in Russia. So we also started asking, isn't this man who proposed that he will never step a foot in Europe, and he will rather appreciate if we can only choose few African leaders to go to this summit instead of every African leader going to meet one big man in Europe? We started asking questions. Then now, this man decided to impose taxes upon taxes on Kenya. I don't know why African leaders decide to go that line. Yes, many Western countries use taxes to develop their country. But have you asked yourself, how is their systems? Many Western countries have built a systems that help them to collect taxes. And they have built systems that also provide employment for people to get jobs so that they can pay their taxes. Is it the same thing in Africa? Africa, sometimes you can spend huge amount of money to go to school and graduate, and after graduation, you are not going to find a job. At the end of the day, you have to go and suffer on the streets to raise money to maybe set up business, your own business. Many African entrepreneurs face a lot of challenges. Our electricities are not stable. We don't have a business-friendly environment. So many goes through a lot of challenges before they can set their business up. Sometimes you have to register your company. Even just registering your company, you go through hell to just register your company from a government institutions. So you go through all this hell to just try to set up business. And after you have set up this business, the government will come and try to tax your business for you to run at a loss. First, you don't even have stable electricity, but they are going to tax you till your business collapsed. Recently, in Ghana here, a lot of businesses are collapsing. A lot of businesses are folding up and move to other countries because there is no stable electricity. Many things are happening. Dollar rate is going up. A whole lot of things are happening that are affecting business owners. And after all this, you just come and tax your way out. We have advised the government, why don't you set up great systems that can be a business-friendly environment for all the citizens so that those who want to go into entrepreneurship can go. Those who want to work at government institution can work. And at the end of the day, if people are working and getting paid, there is no problem taxing them. There is no problem taxing them. But at the end of the day, all these things are not normally done, but they will try to tax you. And I think this burden of taxes that really triggered Kenyans to go on the street to protest. Instead of addressing their problems, you rather allow police and military men to shoot and kill. And just this peaceful protests they did, they were able to lose 22 people. When are African leaders going to learn? When are they going to change? It's becoming unbecoming, because what we are experiencing in Africa is questionable. I decided not to involve myself in protests. As for me, I've decided not to get involved in African politics protests, because we can protest. We can go on the streets to create all this awareness of how we are suffering. But if we are still going to maintain this democratic system, the systems we are practicing at the moment, then nothing will change. So before you stepped on the street, what is the agenda? Ask yourself, what is the agenda? The agenda is just going to fight for one purpose, and the following day, another purpose will shoot up again. Policies are going to be made to affect you. That is the fact. Every government policies they are going to make will directly or indirectly will affect you, because democratic systems we are practicing in Africa has been designed to just take from the citizens. And if even they are taking from the citizens, because in Western countries, they take from the citizens, I mean tax. They tax citizens, but as I said earlier, they taxed, but they use the money to address their bad roads. They use the money to build infrastructures that will benefit the country. But do Africans use the same money to do the job? They take the money and they will start building wealth for their family. They will start building wealth for their friends. They will start building wealth for themselves. The systems we are practicing allow corruption. So till we address the democratic systems we are practicing in Africa, I think stepping on the streets to protest will not yield any results. In 2007, I was in Kenya. After the election, there was violence that erupted in Kenya. A lot of people died, but at the end of the day, here we are again on the streets protesting and be shot to killed. That is what I meant. I think 2 years ago or 3 years ago, Nigerians also went on the street to protest about End SARS. What happened? They shoot to kill them, but at the end of the day, nothing actually happened. They even went ahead to vote for the same government that was suppressing them. They went ahead and voted for him again. I don't think most of them said they did not vote for him. He stole his way to power. But what happens? He still, because the systems we are practicing, the democratic systems we are practicing, will always bring a corrupted person to power. It will bring a corrupted person to power, whether you agree or not. Because our systems only allow people who are rich to come to power, because even before you pick up a party candidacy forms, it's a huge amount of money, and that money, not everyone can afford to pay such money. So people with principles, people who are patriotic, people who are willing to work for the countries to develop, don't get the chance to pick forms. The only people that can afford such forms are those who are corrupted. So the systems we are practicing are not correct. The democratic systems we are practicing is corrupted system. So there is nothing that can push a leader, especially an African leader, to do the right thing. Because the systems was also built by our colonial masters, they still have a say in the policies that we implement. That's why normally we say most of African leaders are just puppets. You still need them to implement policies. If you implement policies that does not favor most of the Western countries, they will brand you as a dictator. They still come for your natural resources. They still come for your mineral resources. So these whole political systems that we are practicing cannot help Africa. Because if we are going to stick with the same democratic systems that was proposed or forced on us by our colonial masters, then we are going to continue to experience events like what happens in Kenya. Anyone that is democratically elected in Africa is somehow a puppet of some Western country. Recently, Senegal also elected their leader. After they elected the leader, he was very young. So many Pan-Africanists, many Africans were happy and thinking this man is going to disassociate himself from France and take the right decisions. But what happens? Few days ago, we saw him having meetings with Emmanuel Macron. As I said, if we are going to maintain all these democratic systems we are practicing in Africa, then we are not going anywhere. Africa needs their own systems. Africa needs systems that will help them develop their country. Africa needs their own systems. Until we disassociate ourselves from these Western countries and their influence, we are going to continue to experience empty protests. So that's why I said, as for me, I'm not stepping out there to protest unless we have an agenda that will help Africa to move on. But if you are going to just protest on one subject or one policy and come and sit back, the same thing will repeat itself. Now, I have heard the Kenyan president, William Ruto, has called back the taxes. He has cancelled the taxes that he imposed on Kenya that led to all these protests. But is it final after these taxes? Is Kenyans going to still feel comfortable? They are going to rebrand this same policy and presented it to you again. And maybe you are not even going to realize it. If the government decide to tax you, there is nothing you can do about it. They have a way of doing it, either directly or indirectly. That is what African leaders does. And we have a whole lot of things that they can use to suppress you. So as I said, so we have agenda to protest. The protest shouldn't be just only one policy. The protest should be a system change across Africa. If we are not going to demand a system change in Africa, all these protests is not going to solve the problems, because the democratic systems we are practicing is not what will help Africa to develop. It's about time we tell ourselves the truth. We don't need to go around circles. It's about time we face facts. These things is very sad, but Africans, we need agenda. Africans, we need a plan, because whatever that happens few days ago is going to happen again. That is the fact. So now, the questions we asked ourselves few years ago about William Ruto is gradually being answered. We asked ourselves that, is this man for real? Is this man really a Pan-Africanist? Is this man going to be the change Kenyans has been yearning for? Is this man truly what he seems to be? It seems our questions has been answered. It was never was. It's the same old story that we keep going around in Africa. Leaders pretending to be good, leaders pretending to be great, but at the end of the day, they become failures. Recently, we saw him at the White House doing photo shoots with Biden. We are going nowhere till we change the democratic systems we practice in Africa. Please join my Telegram platform by going to my description box and click on the Telegram link. It will take you to the platform. Join us for us to talk about the well-being of Africa and Africans in diaspora. If today is your first time coming to my channel, then don't forget to subscribe to this channel and turn on the notification button so that anytime I upload any great content, you will be notified. I'm always your guy, De-Graft Amoako. Thanks for watching.